What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Touch, and today we're going to be talking about the biggest headlines from yesterday in the NBA. There wasn't really a good video to make today, so I'm just going to talk about a few things that I noticed from last night, things that, are trends that, are interesting, the most incredible, and I guess things you want to talk about. So, yeah, before I get into it, I want to say, please, if you do remember, leave a like, comment an idea down below, for an idea for a video, subscribe if you're new, and we're going to talk about a few things, like I said, and the first thing is, well, it's got to be Chicago Bulls, Brooklyn Nets last night. Jimmy Butler with 40 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and a game-winning, buzzer-beating jump shot. As a Bulls fan, it was pretty exciting, but, there always is the reality of things. It was against the Brooklyn Nets, a team that the Bulls have no business being in close games with, or maybe they do because they're just so good at that. This is something that's, been reoccurring, the fact that the Bulls are really good against good teams and really bad against bad ones. It's not an issue that's really been solved yet, and I don't know if this was that because Brook Lopez had a crazy game. Dwayne Wade went out of the game with migraines at a certain point. Jimmy Butler even had a sprained ankle during the fourth quarter of this game, returned and, led the clutch comeback. But the Bulls are also the worst fourth quarter team in the NBA this season, and last night was an example of them overcoming the odds against them that would say that they would not want to win that game when they were down 7 with 2.5 minutes left. They ended up doing just that behind Jimmy Butler and no Dwayne Wade, as I said before, in that late fourth quarter. The Bulls are now 16-16. They're a 500 team, exactly right on the dot. I believe they're 7th in the playoff race, and this is just, it's not something that you expect, because this team should be better. They've had games where they easily should have won, maybe some games they should have lost, but for sure a lot of these games against mediocre to bad teams, they should have taken care of, and they should be better than what they are. However, Jimmy Butler has, he still had his breakout year. He deserves to be a starter in the All-Star game this year, and I think he'll get that nod, or at least that he should get that nod during this year's All-Star game, which I will make a video about the starters who should start on each team. But yeah, Jimmy Butler, huge night to cap off a Bulls W and game-winning shot at the buzzer. We're going to talk about the next thing, and it was the Wizards-Pacers game. These are two teams that I'd very much like to talk about because I made a Blazers video the other day, and it was talking about how this is the most disappointing team in the NBA so far, but another team in the NBA can give the Portland Trail Blazers a run for their money in terms of being disappointing, and that's the Indiana Pacers. They lost this one to the Washington Wizards behind John Wall's 36 points, 11 boards, and 9 assists. This was an absolutely fantastic showing from him. Paul George put together 34 in a loss, and he was pretty good all night long, but the problem is that the Indiana Pacers are just not living up to what they were supposed to be, and I do have a lot of belief that it is in the coaching change. Now, we all know that Indiana coach prior to this season, Frank Vogel, was fired after the close of last season, and he's now the coach of the Orlando Magic, who are quietly slipping into the playoff race. I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but the Orlando Magic are actually, they're doing work right now, and they're getting back, I think, into this Eastern Conference playoff race. They're almost where the Pacers are, and the Pistons, I think they're about tied with the Pistons maybe, but the Magic are doing well under Frank Vogel, and the Pacers are not doing well not under Frank Vogel. Nate McMillan simply hasn't gotten the job done. Paul George has underperformed this season along with a lot of other players. The one upside of this team so far, the bright spot, is Miles Turner. This guy was, there was a reason, I heard something about a reason maybe Frank Vogel got fired, and Frank Vogel apparently didn't play Miles Turner enough. Now Miles Turner is getting his run, and he's playing a lot better. He's playing fantastic. He looks like a future star for sure. And yeah, he's been really good. He's become a legit three-point threat, as well as, many big men in this league have. But the Indiana Pacers, regardless of that, are still out of the playoff race right now, which they have no business being out of the playoff race. They should definitely be a top 6 team, I believe, in the Eastern Conference with that roster. Those guys should gel. Jeff Teague, Monte Ellis, Paul George, Thaddeus Young, and Miles Turner is a pretty solid starting 5. I know Monte Ellis has little to nothing to offer this year, and now that he's getting older, it just seems like there's not much more for him to show us. Thaddeus Young's a very solid player. They got some solid guys on their bench. CJ Miles is always a dangerous off the bench. You got a couple players. Rodney Stuckey's another guy. I definitely believe that this Pacers team has so much more to offer than they're showing us. And Jeff Teague, this guy needs to step up his game, man. He has to show why he was an all-star a few years ago. He's got to bring that back if this team wants to win. He's running the team, and right now it looks like the Pacers really, they really didn't make a good decision getting rid of Hill for Teague. I think that Hill, he hasn't even played that much this season, so maybe you can actually use that argument against what I said, but the Utah Jazz, when George Hill is playing, have loved having him run the point guard. He's a great leader. He's a much better defender than a guy like Jeff Teague, and he's much better three-point threat. And, those are some things that you'd like to see the Indiana Pacers do better. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, we had the LA Clippers lose, I believe, their third straight game or so. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4, but without Blake Griffin, a lot of us thought, hey, the Clippers are going to be okay. They've showed the ability in past years without a guy like Blake Griffin to still be one of the top teams in the conference and not lose, their spot. But right now, things don't look good. Back-to-back losses from the Lakers and the Pelicans. It's just a bad sign. And CP3 was actually playing against the Pelicans last game, which is even more worrisome. It's the Pelicans. It's not like you're playing some elite top-of-the-league team. They lost to the Lakers and the Pelicans. Those are two of the worst teams in the Western Conference, or, two of the lottery teams in the Western Conference, to say the least. That can't cut it if you're the Clippers. I mean, you can't be doing that. And Blake Griffin, I was never aware that, he was this important to this team. I know he's a very great player, but I was never really so sure, of his value. I was very sure that the Clippers could play without him, but right now they have to prove that they can do that, and if not, they're going to fall because the Rockets have already passed them. The Grizzlies and Thunder are next. I mean, literally, the Clippers have lost too many games they should have won, and it's getting out of hand now, and they actually have to start winning some games here. They could be, in a dangerous spot. That's going to do it for this video. I know it was a very short one, shorter than I usually do. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to talk about right now. That's why I need you guys to hit me up with your ideas, and we will definitely, we're definitely able to make a video as something like that. But yeah, if you haven't liked it already, please don't forget to do that. Comment and date down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.